we are very excited in that we see this as our launch event of what we're calling wnCollect, but essentially is international click and collect, is PUDO, okay? And the kind of strapline there, well, two straplines, because the world can't wait. I mean, the world's been talking about PUDO for 3 years, 5 years. Every event talks about PUDO, and we really feel that there's a groundswell and there's a capability now to really deliver not just domestic click and collect, but international. We're all about international, cross-border. And the kind of strapline there sums up what we're about. It's about convenience without the retailer, without our retailer customer having to do much IT work, and we'll explain a bit more about that.
So as we just heard, pick up and drop off, retailers love a good acronym, and this is popular in the marketplace at the moment, referring to pick up and drop off, or click and collect, or local pickup. There's quite a bit of different terminology being used in the market.
Thanks. And just before we even sort of launch into things, in terms of a show of hands, I mean, who here is doing PUDO or click and collect? Or who's involved in that marketplace? Okay, so there's about a third of the room maybe. I see some familiar faces from people we already work with, and I see some faces from customers as well. So that's a great mix. And, yeah.
So as Jonathan said, we've quite a lot of retailers are offering click and collect in the domestic market, and we're getting more and more inquiries from retailers who are looking to expand that offer internationally, partly because they want to offer the international customers the same exciting delivery proposition that they've got in the UK, but they also, it's got a number of benefits in terms of saving budgets. PUDO options are typically cheaper than home delivery, and it offers the customer convenient options for both delivery and returns. There's other sort of environmental factors as well in terms of carbon emissions, etc. So it is something that we're getting a lot of inquiries about now, not just in terms of Europe, but wider afield in other markets.
Yeah, thanks. And I think just building on what Chloe was saying there, and here we've got a picture of the world and a picture of lots of the partners that we're either already working with or in serious discussions about working with. And I'd probably just say a couple of things overall here, which is, international is not one thing, but we've done our best to simplify it so that from a retailer point of view, it can be just a simple plug-in. But really, what we would say and what we always say, whether it's deliveries to home or deliveries to click and collect, and there's some people taking pictures, which you're welcome to, but if anyone wants the whole deck, just come and ask us afterwards, and we'll be very happy to email that across to you. So that's, it's completely open offer, obviously, to send you all the information that's here. But really, we always think about international not being just one thing, but each individual market having its own peculiarities, its own differences, and we'll go through a few of those today. But wnDirect, which I sort of said at the start, we shipped about 6 million parcels last year, and our forecast for this year is 9 million parcels, and we see a lot of that growth, maybe 15% of the total coming from PUDO, coming from click and collect. And we'll really see, as I said, that although there's been talk at every expo for the past 3 years, this is the year where it's going to happen. Maybe just picking up a couple. I'll pick up on one, and then maybe you pick up on one. So we talked about different partners that we're working with, but if we were to take the two in the bottom corner there, so Bartolini and Nexif, that would be a good example where Bartolini's got a great strength in Italy, deliveries to home, by their own admission, quite weak in terms of PUDO, being slow to come to that. Nexif, which is the old PostNL in Italy, quite new to home delivery, but have a really robust PUDO network. And it's no problem for us to be able to plug into several providers in a market if that's what the consumers in that market desire. And so I think that's picking up on Italy, but do you want to pick up on another?
Yeah, it's quite interesting that a lot of people are asking us for this kind of solution in the US, and I guess the US is a little bit behind some of the other European markets, and we've been out to quite a number of potential partners, and it's so new that they haven't really got the coverage with America being so large. So Drop Locker is a company that we're actually talking to. They have lockers for dry cleaning and laundry, and I'm having a conversation with them to maybe open their idea up to using it for retail, but they hadn't actually even considered that retail was an opportunity for them. They were more focused on laundry and dry cleaning, so that's kind of where we're going out to markets where there isn't a presence and trying to develop one.
Yeah. And we've just got a few slides now just on some of those differences and picking up some of the highlights. So,
yeah, I had quite an interesting conversation with someone the other day. I didn't realize that France was such an established market. It was established in about the 80s for click and collect. And that was primarily because the French post office kept going on strike and all the catalogue companies couldn't get their orders delivered. So they developed the PUDO network to try and get around the French postal strikes. So we've got a few other interesting facts about other countries that we've gleaned from some of our partners. So we're working with the market leader in Australia, Parcel Point. They've identified that 60% of e-commerce shoppers have issues getting their orders delivered to their office. Due to the geography of Australia, quite a few of the delivery depots are in sort of far out, hard to reach places. We offer a delivery service to Australia, and it's the same as Royal Mail here. One delivery attempt, then it goes to the post office, and again, we get feedback from customers that post office queues are long, the same as they are here, and it's quite an inconvenient solution for them. So again, they're quite recently established, but they're gaining a lot of momentum, and they're looking to open quite a lot more points over the course of this year.
Yeah, and I think that first point there about the sort of cultural norms in a geography. So in Australia, that it's frowned upon. People feel awkward to have parcels delivered to their place of work. And both Chloe and I come from retail in the UK and internationally, and it's through working with retailers and their customers that we're really understanding that, as I said before, international not being just one thing. We're kind of now quite attuned to the idea of, Chloe mentioned France there, and about population densities, and about PUDO being more commonplace than, say, in the UK has been. But we tend to think less about, well, what might be the different requirements in an Australia or in a Russia, for example. And SPSR, who we work with closely in Russia, and I see a couple of the guys here today, so thank you guys. But again, just a very different market. So anyone who's been to Moscow will know just how ridiculously bad the traffic is. And of course, that impacts on delivery routes to people's homes, and it impacts ultimately on the cost. And it's really through working with our in-country partner there, SPSR. They have a network of now close to 900 pick points. There's an ambition for 3,500 pick points, and it's that understanding about, well, what does that mean in terms of stem mileage? What does it mean in terms of distance from people's houses? And in fact, even having to look at it in quite a different way to, well, what's the convenience factor versus having to go to a post office? And I think we worked out that for 85% of population that it was going to be no more than 6 miles further than to a post office. So you suddenly, even with a landmass as big as Russia, 14% of the world's landmass, you suddenly got a viable solution with relatively few, you could say, locations. Yeah, you compare that to someone like a Germany with 6,000 in the partner that we're using, and there's a different expectation. I think the other point, and we're going to make it a few times through today's talk, is really this is about cost savings. It's about cost savings for the retailer, but cost savings ultimately for the consumer. What we've been able to do in Russia is to offer up a PUDO solution that gets a parcel there as fast as an express parcel for a price which is about on a par with postal, and that's just a fantastic balance. I'm getting more convenience. Okay, I've made a choice not to have it delivered to my home, but as a result, I'm getting a postal rate, but with a sort of courier-delivered express proposition. Very, very powerful.
Yeah, so Sweden is a good example. Service Point is pretty much the norm in Sweden, and a lot of people don't actually want home delivery because it's so established, and it's kind of, they run a mix of service points with stores and post office locations, and it's, as I say, it's very well established, and people, the cost of getting home delivery is quite considerably higher.
Yeah.
Japan's a really interesting one. I think people tend to focus on Europe for PUDO because a lot of the service aggregators are focused in Europe. But the Takubin network, we work with Yamato, who are the market leader in Japan for B2C parcels, and they have a very famous network called Takubin, and they have wnCollect, which is a large number of stores similar to the concept we have here, and they are so well integrated into society that the Japanese norm, if they're going on holiday in Japan, they might post their luggage into the wnCollect network and then meet their luggage at the destination they're going to. Students leaving university will post their returns back through the wnCollect, etc. So that's a good example where they've taken that solution and taken it even further. Another example is Cool Takubin. So you can send refrigerated and chilled goods through the network, and I believe it's quite popular for sushi. So yeah, that's an interesting one.
So if Doddle are here, because I think they're in the room out there, you know, it's sushi delivered next day, please. So, Chloe's just going to take us through now just a few different options for doing PUDO and what some people in the room might have tried, and really sort of some of the merits, the pros and cons, some of the challenges of those other options for PUDO.
Yeah, so we're in discussion with a lot of retailers, and I guess this solution that we've developed has come from speaking to so many retailers. They've tried a number, or are trying a number of different methods, and we just wanted to take you through those for any people in the room that are considering launching international PUDO. These are some of the ways that you might approach it. So an obvious starting point is to meet with the individual PUDO network partners and integrate them directly. I think the big challenge for retailers is how you present that at your checkout, because each partner will have a different map presentation and different branding. So you then have a sort of inconsistent look and feel across the website, and you also have a number of different interfaces to maintain from an IT perspective. Other challenges are negotiating with the carrier partners directly, organising your own line haul, sorting out your own customs clearance, ID if it's applicable, etc. And that can be quite daunting unless you've got a big team of transport people to kind of manage all of those elements for you.
Okay, thanks.
The next option is diverting the parcel in flight, and we actually started out down this road because we were getting so many requests from retailers that they wanted to do this. Primarily they wanted to do it this way because it involved no IT work, and I know retailers always have problems getting things into the IT development queue, so this seemed like a good option to go down. But as we started down this road, we realized that there was a number of problems with it, possible fraud implications of halting a parcel in transit and sending it to a completely different address being the big one. The fact that you can't pass that great cost saving on to your consumer because they can't see that at checkout, and also you've got no visibility of where your customer's parcel's being sent. So from a customer service perspective, trying to assist the customer when they've diverted their parcel and you have no idea where it's gone. They are all kind of problems that we've encountered when we started off down that path.
Yeah, and I think what's interesting is we've seen just how powerful and positive in-flight solutions can be for other innovations that we do. So we manage duty and tax collection in-flight for a lot of retailers for parcels going to Russia, to Brazil, to China, to India. We manage address validation, again, in flight. Often the retailer maybe has a one-size-fits-all checkout. It's not best place to handle those variances at the checkout. And we can do that very nimbly, straight after the checkout when the parcel's in flight before it arrives in country. So in flight, in other areas that we work in, can be ever so powerful, but for PUDO, and particularly with the address change, as Chloe highlighted, there's just that risk of fraud which doesn't sit at all well with retailers.
The next option is to look at a carrier aggregator or a technology solution for offering this at your checkout. And you may want to outsource that to a carrier aggregator for ease, or you may be looking to use a technology solution and to be doing a lot of that work in the background. I guess some advice, if you're going down that route, would be to understand how much work needs to be done every time a new country is added, because with some of the solutions that I've seen in the market, you have to do work every time you expand a country. Does the solution offer worldwide, or is it mainly focused on Europe? Line haul, customs clearance is a consideration. If your partner's mainly working in Europe, they may not have a lot of experience in that area, even though they may have ambitions to kind of grow their solution to rest of world. Line haul, and again, you've got if you're looking at a technology solution only, how do you manage the line haul? And again, you would be speaking to the carrier partners directly and managing those negotiations directly. I guess from our perspective, the beauty of the service we've developed is because we're working with a lot of different retailers, we've been able to get pricing for a combined number of parcels, not just a single retailer's parcel. So we've been able to get really competitive rates with some of these partners.
Yeah, thanks.
So just going through the solution that we've developed, I've got a bit of a demo to follow this slide. This is exactly what we've done based on feedback from our retail partners. They wanted a single API integration that allowed them to access the world effectively. So we've gone out and we've spoken to a number of carrier partners. The good thing about wnDirect is we can basically work with different partner providers, and we're not tied into a single network, I guess.
Yeah.
So as I mentioned, the aggregated volumes across our retailer base, there's no additional work to add on new countries. As soon as we put them into our map, they're available for our retailers to use. We have another good feature of the map is that we can add bricks and mortar locations into the map, because the map is bespoke to the retailer using it. So if you had international physical stores that you wanted to add into the map and use them as click and collect points, then we could add them into your map and use them alongside carrier partners' networks. We have included line haul. As I say, it's a single integration. The reference to FitsMe on the right-hand side, it's a partner we've selected to do the technology for us. They have a lot of experience in integrating with retailers. They effectively offer, you may be familiar with them, they effectively offer a sizing solution to help retailers reduce their returns. So prompt at the checkout, once you've entered your sizing details, will tell you what the best fit garment for you is across a range of brands. So we've partnered with them because of their good IT base, their quick speed to market, and they've brought a number of positives because of their experience working in the retail market.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, and I think that IT piece, and I use the term, there might even be there, plug-in earlier, but we've really tried to make this so simple that we're thinking in terms of one day of a retailer's IT to actually make to do the implementation, to do the plug-in. And that's that backbone with FitsMe. We have developers in-house, but we'll often choose, for something this big, to work with a preferred provider in the marketplace to actually develop that IT with us. And we own the IP, and we really feel that we've created something quite special and quite unique. Just on the 3 slides before, on those other options, is anyone here doing that? Does that sort of resonate with people, that there are those other options, there's some of the challenges that were sort of walked through there? So it might be that the noise and everything, when we take questions at the end, that if you want to go into any of those in a bit more detail, we can do that. But as Chloe said, we'll just take us through a demo.
Is that started?
I think it started. So well. Yeah.
Okay. So this is a demonstration of the solution that we've designed. This page is meant to represent a retailer's checkout, so it's just branded quite neutrally and not retailer specific. So the idea is at the top, the consumer would enter their, it says here delivery address, but you've got their standard options and PUDO or whatever you wanted to call it on your checkout. You might want to call it International Click and Collect. There's a list of the countries that are currently developed within the map, and we have a very aggressive rollout plan for other territories. We're looking at about 20 to 30 countries live this year. As you can see, we have clicked into the map. You can click on that parcel point logo and get a little bit more information about the service. And this is supported by Google Maps technology, so it works exactly the same as Google Maps. The hotspots show you the density of location points, and as you can see with this service, most of the points are around Sydney and in New South Wales. There's a geolocator on the solution, so if you're looking at it on your mobile or your tablet, it would take you straight to where you are and find the nearest points to where you are. As you can see, you can also scroll through the map and you can click on the points and have a look at the opening hours information and just find the best solution for you. Once you've found the right spot, you can select the location, and that information is then fed back to the retailer through the API link, so you would have full visibility of the point that the consumer has selected on the map. Just show you Russia here as well as a comparison. The points are obviously coming up in Russian. The other English text at the top will be translated into Russian on the final version. This is just the demo site, but as you can see, same principle. The opening hours information is coming up in Cyrillic, and it's all kind of customer facing. Final example here for Spain. As I say, you wouldn't have that drop down on your website. It would just automatically understand that the customer is in Spain, and if you've enabled it on your website, it would allow them to go straight through to the Spanish PUDO options. And in this market, we're partnering with SIA. They have over 1,000 points. These final slides are just an illustration of what this might look like on different devices. So on the phone, because it's quite small, you've got the option to look at a list or a map, but you can't look at both simultaneously. On the iPad, you can look at it the same as on a PC screen, and you've got the option to select to list view or map view, and I think that's the end of the demo, actually. Great. But it just gives you a bit of an idea. We've brought those points into one map to get over the inconsistency and the branding issues of having multiple maps on the checkout and kind of looking a bit messy. So we've kind of brought this into one point.
Yeah, that's perfect. We've really invested a lot in making the user interface as friendly as we can, as clean and as customer facing, as customer friendly, I should say, as we could. And it goes without saying, again, if anyone wants a demo of that, then please just ask myself or Chloe or anyone on our stand, D11 there, and we'll be very happy to give you that demo. Just without going through in too much detail here, but just an example of, if you will, the end-to-end process. So starting from the consumer placing their order on the retailer website, and Chloe explained well there that if it's a mobile or a tablet, it's already understanding their geolocation. But it's also, once the consumers collected the channel, which is PUDO rather than delivered to home. It understands their billing address, and therefore through the geolocation, married with the billing address as well, it can home in pretty quickly on where the customer is most likely to want that parcel delivered to. The customer can then move around to choose somewhere different if their place of work is somewhere different, for example. But it homes in very quickly on where, intuitively where the customer is most likely to want that parcel delivered to. So customers, selected just the channel, and then a pop-up screen is appearing, so it's within that same seamless checkout experience, if you will, albeit it's a pop-up, and that's then allowing the consumer to select the exact location preference that we saw in the demo. Okay. Then after that, it's really business as usual for us. So the parcel are dispatched from the retailer. We go and collect the parcel. Chloe explained earlier, we do the complete end-to-end piece. So we're collecting, we're processing, we're then shipping it forward, and ultimately, with our partners delivering it, it will have a collect label on it, rather than a delivered to home label. And we do that final mile labeling on behalf of the retailer. In the case of Russia, I explained earlier, there are some countries that require, in this case, ID collection. And we have a very successful been using it since all the legislation changed. Application for holding that parcel and collecting the ID. So when we ship it forward, we know it's going to clear customs. We know it's not going to be held there and cause any inconvenience when it's in country. It's then flown forward. It's processed. It's cleared in Russia. It's routed. And then it's cleared, routed through, but not to the customer's home, but to a pick point location. And as I said, one of 900 will be one of 3,500. And much the same technology that people will be familiar with if they've used a locker in this country, or indeed even a parcel shop. So notification by SMS or email, and that very neatly coming through to the customer's device. And we're seeing this as part of a, without stating the blindingly obvious, part of a much wider move towards mobile, and that whole convenience, and I'm in control by doing my shopping from wherever I want to do it, and having it delivered to wherever I want it delivered to. And that mobile or tablet, which we're optimized for, being the device of choice to do that with. So consumers then collecting it from the pick point location, and it goes without saying that throughout, both the consumer and the retailer, as well as our own customer service team, are able to track that parcel and see exactly where it is in its journey. Okay.
I think we're coming up to the end, so we'll just skip through the last slide, just so that if anyone's got any questions.
Just an example of the label. We've got the pop station here in Singapore. But again, for anyone who's familiar with our service, looks very much like our standard label. You've got the data manifest. Everything's reading through from that barcode. But instead of going to a customer's home, and the important thing is that the manifest has still got the customer's billing address details, got the home address details, as well as the PUDO address details. And that's the scenario 2, which Chloe walked us through, that whole risk factor if you're dislocating the delivery location from that original set of customer information.
So in terms of live countries at the moment, Russia, Spain, Portugal, Australia, Ireland, Poland, Latvia, Lithuania, Estonia, Denmark. We're also pushing on through with France, Germany, Japan, Taiwan. UK will be on that map, Singapore and Netherlands. As I said, we have about 30 countries on our roadmap for this year, and anyone interested, we could definitely share that with you. We've also got a returns portal that will offer returns logistics through the same networks. So if you want to use the parcel shops in Australia, you'll also be able to return using the parcel shops. This exhibition is our official launch of the product. So if anyone has any questions and wants to come to the stand, we're at D11.